Welcome back. You are watching Severe MMA, and I am delighted to say that I am joined by UFC welterweight Rhys Skeletor McKee. Does it feel good to be introduced as a UFC fighter once again, Rhys?
Yeah, you know what? It doesn't get old. I've heard it a few times now recently, and it sounds as good every time.
Yeah, you've been doing a selective media tour, but a media tour nonetheless. Are you sick of them at this point?
Yeah, you know what, as I was saying before we come on here, like it's just I'm straight back to work, or I'm just continuing work, and I haven't come up for much air. I like to speak to the people that I've used to speak to the last few years. So I haven't let the whole comeback or the re-signing overcome what's actually happening here, and that's real work in preparations.
You know, I was thinking we saw your everyone saw your first entry into the UFC, but even prior to you fighting there, because we saw the video. I see Graham Boylan just did another one, a similar one with Morgan Charrier there yesterday. But the whole world kind of saw your reaction as you got the news. What was your reaction this time when you got the call, or how did you get the call? Was it another one from Graham?
Yeah, another one for Graham. So we were it was about 10:30 and I just finished training and just got home and me and Rebecca were eating dinner on the sofa watching TV, and Graham asked my advice on some gym equipment that kind of threw me a wee bit, but like it's not weird because I have the gym and then he's opening a place. So I took the call. I was going to say, "Oh, you know what, let's leave it until tomorrow," but I took it anyway. And he cut the chase. He just said, "Listen, I just need to know if you're free September 2nd." And I just said, "You're very sneaky, but absolutely." And it was like, before obviously there was tears and stuff. And I was as happy this time, if not more happy. But it wasn't as emotional because again, it was a feeling of, yeah, like thank goodness, like justice is served kind of feeling, but extreme excitement and so happy and proud.
Yeah, and before we go further, congratulations. I say to you here as well, congratulations on your wife's pregnancy. That you're
Yeah.
expecting to be a father. Geez, that's a probably even better news, is it?
Yeah, baby McKee coming soon. So yeah, November will be the new arrival. We're having a baby girl, which is nice. So I have to become a girl dad and learn all the skills related to that, which will be fun, I'm sure.
Yeah, don't let it soften you now in the cage.
No, here, listen, I'm already a big softie, so
But obviously, I imagine you're looking for. Look, you said you weren't emotional there, but is it relief, or is it just kind of like, yeah, like this is about time. This is where I should be.
yeah, I feel like it is like this is where I should be, Um, relief, like in a kind of way, it is relief because obviously there's stories with so many fighters, one longing to get into the UFC for their whole career, never getting it. So I was always maybe a bit fearful that it might just not happen again, even though we knew it would and could and should. That doesn't always mean it happens. So it was relief in that sense, but in the nicest way possible, it really has been like, right, if the goal was to get to the UFC, I'd already done it. That wasn't the goal. The goal was to get to the UFC and get my hand raised and go on a tear and make serious noise in the divisions. And that's the next goal. So once Graham called and delivered the news, it was like, right, well, I'm training tomorrow the exact same way I would have been. So yeah, it was just straight to work, and now let's get the real part of the puzzle. That's the win streak in the UFC is what it is.
Yeah, like I think everyone on the island and even abroad was expecting this. So, like everyone's kind of been calling for this. We've seen you go away from the UFC. Look, this has been rehashed over and over again, where you've gotten the wins, you've gotten the finishes, and now you're here again. But is getting to the UFC for a second time enough, or is it almost like, all right, yeah, this is cool, but until I get that win, it's kind of irrelevant almost.
Yeah, until I get that win, it's so irrelevant. Like so many people have said to me in the recent years, like, "Oh, sure, you've done it. Like, you've made it." And it's like I haven't made, like, I haven't done any of what I set out to do. Like, I'm at 1% accomplished of what I want to do in my career, and that, I mean that so serious. There's not one part of me is satisfied with what I've done. It's pretty cool what I have done, but it's not satisfied. So, you know. I'm definitely not done now that I've been re-signed. This is the start of it now. This gets me in the league that I need to be. Yeah, no, I need the wins in the UFC. It's not a win in the UFC. It's the wins, the streak, the noise, the knockouts, the finishes. The going for title contention, the top 10, the top one, like that. That's what it's about.
Does the previous stint in the UFC come into mind at all? Like, is there any sort of pressure on getting the win this time?
No, not really. Like, no, no more than like again, it's going to feel the same as the Jimmy fight to the Justin fight to the Alexei fight. Like, I'm very distant from this whole second debut. It's not the second debut for me. It's just another fight. It's the debut, I suppose, if anything. But as for the pressure, like I've all the fights are pressure from I've what had this is a pro fight number 18, and I can't remember one that would have been okay to lose. And this one is no different. It's a huge fight. It's a must-win fight. The next one after this will be a must-win fight. The next one after that will also be a must-win fight. You know what I mean? That's the art of a fighter's career. It's a must-win fight for Allen's too. It's a must-win fight for us all. So pressure for diamonds, and I'm a diamond. So
It is interesting to hear you talk like that, though, because I remember speaking to you, that's kind of how you were framing this as like that. This isn't just like your second time in the UFC; it's your new debut, it's your second debut. Has that mentality changed at all? When you're saying like it's kind of it's not even that now; it's just another fight.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because like one thing about it is I'm a young veteran of the game, and I'm learning as I go along too. And like the cage is the cage, the setup's a setup, the staff at these shows are the staff at the shows. Like it's all very samey. Obviously, the UFC is shinier and it's nicer, and the gloves are black instead of yellow and whatnot. But it's just another fight. Like it really is. It's another chance for me to showcase and perform in front of just a different brand. So it is a debut. This is the real debut. The last one shouldn't even be talked about. If I could probably pick it, it's just so different. It's so irrelevant. But at the same time, when it comes down in the nitty gritty, we're going to get in the cage. It's 15 minutes of a chance for Rhys McKee to showcase.
I was about to say to you there, right? We won't talk about that anymore. But I actually am going to do the opposite right now. I was chatting with Dean O'Neill and Quail Jabara. We were recording the El Triangle there yesterday, and we were talking about your signing. And I've kind of gone away from my thinking on it since then. But I was kind of saying how you are playing with house money here. Like you went in, and the way I described it was that it couldn't have gone worse. It actually could have, because you could have got knocked out or whatever. But I was saying you went in, you took your two losses, and now you're coming back in here with so much momentum behind you, and you've already had your losses in the UFC. So it's basically like you're playing with house money when you're going in again. Would you agree with that, or no?
Yeah, I heard it. I listened to your interview on the way home from training. I don't disagree at all. And people is when we come, let's come back to the pressure word, and people say, oh, Reese can't lose here, and it's like my mindset is I have won. Like, do you know what I mean I've already won at everything I've ever wanted. Do you know what I mean? Now it's just time to do the fun part, and that's win the fights. Like yes, it probably could have went worse result wise. Fought whoever I fought, whatever way I went. I had two losses in a row. I have nothing to lose here. I have all to gain. Doesn't mean I'm up against it. I'm here to win. Like I'm not here on a start uh, on a lucky chance. I've done the work. I've got the results. I've got the finishes to get here. And it's going to keep continuing. But yeah, like I agree with what you're saying. But it probably doesn't even really like. Yes, it can have went worse, and this couldn't go better. But it's just about now. I'm kind of confusing myself now what I'm saying, but it's relevant, but it's irrelevant too.
Yeah, you're focusing on the here and now. Well, look, you've got a matchup against Angelusa coming up here. One of the interesting things that I mentioned Quilch there. Quilch pointed out to me that he's actually got a win over your good pal Deck Larkin.
Yeah.
Does that come into your thought process at all as you're preparing for a guy, or have you talked with Decky Larkin about that?
Yeah, it's a bit of fun. So I remember years ago, Decky was fighting at 155 lightweight, and he got a short notice fight in Switzerland, and he thought it was a lightweight fight, so he went over and he fought who now turns out to be Ange, and the fight was at welterweight, and it didn't go well for Decky, but at the time, me and Decky have said this before. Decky, wasn't probably in the best space for that fight. He was at the wrong weight group. Decky is a fighter that probably should have fought at 145 if he was in the game nowadays. But Yeah, it's a bit of fun. It's a bit of joke, and I remember having a joke with Decky at the time, saying, "I'll get that one back for you someday." Probably wasn't that much to it other than just a jab and a joke, but it turns out here we go, and on September 2nd, I just might get the chance to do that. So.
Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know, Declan Larkin is probably the best ref in Ireland at the moment. But did he when he saw the opponent, did he message you at all or?
Well, I actually rung him and I told him I'm fighting, who I'm fighting, and he was like, "Oh, all right, I don't know if I've heard of him," kind of thing, and I'm like, "You realize you fought this guy?" So okay, yeah, I think Decky's happy for me, and he knows my skill set. Like I always joke with Decky, I've been beating Decky up since I was 15. So it's just another chance for me to get one back, and it's a good talking point.
Yeah, there's real momentum at the moment in Irish MMA, especially with the talk of now the UFC coming back to Ireland, but also in Cage Wars. I was listening to Chris Fields, he was speaking with PT and talking about like how it's kind of like FAI and Team KF at the moment are the ones rising mainly through Cage Wars. Obviously, Team Rhino are there as well, and getting towards the UFC. What is the vibe like in the gym since you've been signed? Obviously, with Paul's kind of waiting here, and we'll speak about that in a minute. But what's the vibe like at the moment in FAI? Obviously, you're training in Next Gen as well, represent them too.
Everybody knows, like everybody knows this is where it's at now. This is a high level fight. Everybody's trying to take something from me in the nicest way. They're trying to help me prepare. They all know who I'm fighting. They all know what he does. They're all doing that type of stuff to make sure I'm prepared. Everybody wants to be the next person. Who's going to be the next sign and who's going to be after that and after that. So that attitude and that like environment is infectious, and it's the place where you need to be training.
I thought that the message you were chatting with PT on the Crack podcast, and you kind of sent out a message of to kind of hold firm and that your time will come to Paul Hughes. Since then, Morgan Charrier, a guy who he's beaten, has been signed, and he's going in here and fighting an Italian fighter I'm not too familiar with. Is there frustration in the gym that Paul's time hasn't come yet?
Of course, it's we all know how good Paul is, so we're probably more frustrated than anybody else in the world. Like a lot of Irish MMA journalists, cannot get their head around it. But as a gym, we definitely can't get our head around it. But it's just, unfortunately, there's politics in MMA, there's moving parts in MMA, there's right place, right time, But again, like for Paul, he knows it's going to come. And when I'm like, regardless who gets signed before him, when he does come in, he overtakes him straight away. That's how good he is. So, if it's 1 month, 1 week, 1 day, or 1 year, I'd be scared enough to say, like, whenever he does get there, like, he'll be overtaking everyone anyway.
I was speaking with one of the VPs at the London show, and he was David Shaw is his name. He was saying about they want to come back to Ireland. Like you're talking about like just taking it fight by fight. Every fight is just a fight, but are you also looking ahead to think, geez, if I go on a run here, which you intend to do and expect to do, then UFC Dublin could be right around the corner for you.
Oh, 100%. Like, yeah, of course. It's, young man from Ireland fighting in the UFC, UFC coming back to Ireland. It's on top. I mean, flip, like, it makes the hairs on my arms stand up. Like, of course, the only reason I'm saying it's one fight at a time because, I want to be in the position when they come to Dublin that I'm on a streak where I can call for a name. Like I don't want to just go in Dublin and open the card. I want to be their household name, fighting against him, beating them in front of a Dublin Irish crowd. Like that's what I want. So that's why the next one's so important. And then you can guarantee then for Dublin we'll be making noise.
It's a very busy time for you at the moment. You've got this fight coming up in a few weeks or what a month now. Um, your wife is going to be having a child. When you lay out kind of the next year, what way would you like it to play out schedule wise?
Yeah, like obviously fight September, maybe November. Yeah, I'll be looking to then fight in the early kind of new year again, and then like from there, just keep ragging wins, keep ragging finishes, and I'd like to fight 3 to 4 times next year, which I know four is on the busier side of things, but I said this year I want it free. Obviously, with the UFC maybe taking a bit longer than we would have liked, it's going to maybe look at 2 times a year. But next year I'd like 3 to 4 for sure.
And are you looking at names already? Like you're, I'm sure you're well familiar with the welterweight division at this point.
Yeah, yeah, I'm well familiar. Like, I really like. I want to fight this fight, get this done, and then maybe go, top 25, and then after that, top 15. Like, I don't believe I'm 5 or 6 fights away from the the top 15. Absolutely, definitely not. There's guys in that top 15 I know I could beat. So, but I want to do it in the right time. I want to do, the first time I was rushed, I went in and fought Khamzat, obviously, and then I fought Morono. Morono's is a household name. I'd love to get that one back. Um, there's fights there for me, but it's all going to be geared towards improving, but improving at the right time and a safe speed. I'm not going to come out and say I want to rematch Hamza after this one. I want to take my time and develop on the job and keep getting the minutes under the UFC octagon. Like people forget I've already a free rounds done in the UFC, which I watched that fight the other day and it's a very messy performance. So I struggle to watch it, but I still have a lot of time in there, and you know, it's going to play dividends.
Do you feel like you want to go in and beat the old Rhys McKee?
Oh, I was smart. I would really beat up that kid. But yeah, I do. Like, I think what I want. I said this going into the Jimmy fight. I want people to leave, and it's funny how the fight turned out. But I said this before. I want people to leave at the end of the fourth because they know the fight's already wrapped up, and they want to get home early before everybody leaves, and the car parking's mental. The motto for this one is I want people to watch the fight and be like, "Are you sure that's the same kid that was here before?" And like, I actually want them to go and check the fight in reference to make sure it's the same person. That's how different. That's not how different the performance will be. That's how different it is because I don't have the same habits. The same like it's been 3 years. Like, do you know what I mean? It's been 3 years of developing and upskilling. Like, it couldn't be any more different.
It's interesting you say that, and look, I suppose it's that is like going in there and putting on the performance in the UFC cage will finally show that to everyone. But I also feel that like people across the world kind of already think that of you. Like I noticed when the news of your signing came out, and I don't know if you noticed this, there was an overwhelmingly positive reaction. And I think that it would be very easy for fans and MMA fans in particular to look at you and see, oh Jesus, he got smashed by Khamzat Chimaev. What's he doing back in there? But there was the complete opposite reaction, which was great to see. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did. I didn't play too much into it, but I did notice, um, as I'm sure you're aware, I have very, very, very thick skin. Like, dealing with being in an MMA fighter, you have to. But it was so nice, and it was almost strange. I was waiting for the big change in heart from everyone, but everybody's been so nice. And I think the reason was there's so much of my story in other people's lives. Going back and doing stuff and coming back from stuff, whatever. Like, I think everybody can resonate with the story a bit. So I think there's probably a bit in everyone that wants me to do well on the second streak. So I think that's maybe why. But and at the same time, I'm a finisher. People want to see me in the UFC and fight world level competition.
Absolutely. I've a couple more for you, and then I promise I'll let you go. You mentioned there, you didn't want to go in immediately. You said that you want the Morono rematch, and that you didn't want to go in and immediately call for, say, a rematch with Khamzat Chimaev. But is he on your mind? Is that one you would like to get back?
I think it's inevitable. I think, if I'm going to go to the lengths that I say I'm going to go to in this sport, then our paths will cross. Like if anybody wants to be the champion, then they have to be willing to fight whoever is there at that time. And should it be him or should it not be him? I wouldn't really mind, But I mean, it'd be a nice story someday, wouldn't it? Like, the whole Adesanya and Pereira thing. It's like that kind of thing. So yeah, if it happens, it happens. I'll definitely be open to it.
You are the last man to headline a Cage Warriors Dublin card, and it was a wild scene. The entire front row of press row got knocked over by your fans in celebration. It was brilliant. But there's another big show coming up in the RDS later this year. What are you expecting to see? Like, who do you think will be the headliner for that? What do you think that Cage Warriors should go with for that card?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna hope that it's not Paul. I'm gonna hope that it's not Paul. Um, if Paul's about, it has to be Paul. But if not, like I think like Leon Hill's doing amazing work. I think maybe him for the headline role. I think he's ready for that step up in competition. It's funny, like Cage Warriors weren't doing anything apparently. Everybody was saying, Cage Warriors isn't the route anymore. And suddenly today I seen a tweet saying that, Cage Warriors is absolutely the route. So, it's hard because they almost clean themselves out of a job. Like, they get all these fighters ready and then bounce them off, and then it's like, right, who's going to be next? But I don't know. If it's not Paul, my pick would be Leon Hill. I'm a big fan of him. So
Yeah, I mean he's on a real surge at the moment. That last fight in Italy was fantastic. Well, let's talk about the fight. Last one, you're fighting Angelusa. What are you expecting from this from him?
yeah, like well prepared, tough, durable, explosive opponent. Someone that can test me in a lot of areas, but there's always a but, isn't there? I just believe I'm more upskilled. I believe I'm a better fighter. I believe I bring more to the table, and I just believe I'm a man on a mission, and it's going to be very tough till for the fight to go any other way than a Rhys McKee victory and finish.
And if there's any fans out there who saw your first run in the UFC, but then decided, no, we're going to close our eyes, let's not bother looking for the next three fights where you put on emphatic finishes, what can they expect to see in the cage?
Yeah, just total difference. It's like, you were watching a 24-year-old kid, during lockdown when he wasn't training, like a kid in a candy shop, happy to be in the gloves, happy to be in the shorts. He's went away, he's matured, he's beat good people up, and he's come back and he's a man now, and he's ready to just showcase the world that how skilled he is. That is what this is. You're not going to see a kid walking out there happy for the opportunity. You're going to walk out, you're going to see a man walk out and be ready to go to work.
Rhys, I can't thank you enough for doing this. Delighted to say that you're back in the UFC and that we will see you on the 2nd of September at UFC Paris, Gan versus Spivak. Rhys, safe travels over to Paris. Good luck with the rest of your camp. And I look forward to potentially even seeing you over there. I might head over to Paris for it if I can find some cheaper accommodation. But all the best with the rest of the camp, and appreciate the time today.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate it.